Hello, I'm Mark Steber, Chief Tax Information Officer at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service. Today we'll discuss how the pandemic COVID-19 situation has impacted millions of taxpayers' employments and their next tax returns. Many taxpayers have felt the impact of the pandemic and the stay-at-home orders on their jobs, their income, and perhaps even having a side gig. This has led to different ways of making ends meet for many Americans, including taking on temporary jobs and even getting creative like making face masks, day trading on the internet, and even more to bring in some much needed extra cash. So what do all of these changes have in common? They will impact your taxes next year. Don't worry, I'm here to tell you some of the ways your taxes will be impacted and what you can do to save money and get a bigger refund at tax time. So what if my income wasn't impacted during the pandemic? Well, if you're one of the lucky ones and you were able to continue to work and be paid during the pandemic, your taxes will look a lot like they did this year. Just be sure to gather all your documents, such as your W-2s, your 1099s for interest and dividend, and even retirement distributions. Also, be sure to collect your charitable contribution totals, mortgage interest, property taxes, and other taxes you paid, including state and local income taxes, if you plan to itemize. And if you're not filing single, be on the lookout for family members that might have been impacted by the pandemic and may attach themselves to your tax return. But what if I was furloughed and able to pick up a temporary job? What do I need to know? Well, if you were furloughed and able to pick up a temporary job, make sure you save all those W-2s from all those jobs when they start to come in. If you worked a side gig, like working for a delivery service company, or contracting on the side, or making masks, or trading in virtual currency, or really any money-making venture, be sure you keep your own record of income and the expenses you incurred, like miles you drove, or other expenses that you might have related to your work. If you ran any business, you might even qualify for a home office deduction if you did it out of your home. Sadly, if you're just an employee working at home, you don't get this benefit. But if you have a side gig, your office might be deductible on your tax return. What forms will I receive if I was retired or preparing to retire? Well, if you retired or went ahead and took the plunge after the COVID, you should receive your first Form 1099-R for your retirement distributions. Sometimes that can be confusing. If you're 62 or older and choose to start drawing from your Social Security, you'll also start receiving new forms, the SSA 1099. And as I tell everyone, if this is your first year for retirement, be a little extra careful on your taxes because there will be a lot of changes from your tax return this year compared with prior years. Really, the first few years, really. What do I do with my IRS letter 1444 related to the getting of the stimulus payments or those EIP payments? Well, the first thing you need to know is keep that letter that came sometime after your payments. And if we have another round of economic stimulus payments, keep the letter that comes with those too. When you start to do your tax return for 2020, you will need that information. If you're eligible for more credit, you'll be able to receive that as part of your tax filings in 2020. This will be particularly tricky come tax time if you don't have that letter and some way to remember how much money you have and to put that on your tax return. Your taxes could even be delayed if you put the wrong amount or if you for some reason have to adjust the amount of credit that you received. Good news is if you got too much credit, you don't have to pay that back. With the changes, confusion, uncertainty of the pandemic, and the impact on your tax return, know that Jackson Hewitt tax professionals are here to help you navigate this murky situation. Schedule an appointment today on jacksonhewitt.com.